Welcome to YouTooSpain Live. This week, I'll be joined by two special guests. Hopefully, one of them is just hanging around in the background waiting, and the other one can't manage to get signed in. But we will see. Hopefully, it will all work out in a few minutes. One of my guests will be guiding you through the sensitive subject of funeral plans, and the other through the Spanish laws for wills and inheritance, so you and your family can be ready when the time comes. Join us with questions and comments on the live chat or in the comments below if you're watching afterwards, because you are a part of this too. You are very welcome to YouTooSpain. Let's run that theme tune, and why not? Let's have a dance. Oh, yeah. Now that's groovy. Groovy music, but no point in being morbid today. We're going to keep it all upbeat, and helping you to do that are my two guests. We'll start with just the one of them for now, and that is Fran from AF Consulting. Good morning, Fran.
Good morning, Andrew.
How are you doing today?
Well, Saturday is a nice day. Usually we are not working, but,
yeah.
but we are very happy to be here with you and with all the followers.
Excellent. So it's supposed to be a show of two halves today, and we're going to chat to you first, I think, about wills and inheritance, and then hopefully if Ruth's managed to join us, we'll talk to her about funeral plans. And well, I think, why not? Let's just say hello to people on the live chat who are joining us. Jason's Webb is the only one who's left a comment so far. Good morning to you. Oh, and Peter Newbury, and he's saying good morning all. You look so well, Skatz. I do feel pretty well. Lost a bit of weight and doing a bit of exercise, and I've got some gigs coming up, so very happy about that. And how are you all over there? Whereabouts are you already in Spain, Peter, or are you hoping to move? I can't remember. So everybody who's not joined us yet or who is waiting to chat, then do give us a wave on the live chat, and you can start asking questions anytime you want. Lisa Hibbert is there. Good morning, Lisa. Jason says he's in the UK. Can I prepay funeral plans? Are there similar options in Spain? We'll get Ruth to answer that one in the second half, but I believe you can. She does the English version of the plan as well, so that works. So we'll ask her about that later. Join the Joiner says, "Hey up, everyone! Buenos dias." Bit of Yorkshire there. Okay, so I'll scroll on to what we were going to have Fran in the second half, but let's get straight on talking about wills and inheritance. And what we're going to do is give you watchers out there some great summaries of what you need to know. And then if you need to know anything more personal to you and to your circumstances, then you can contact Fran directly. We'll be looking at his website shortly as well. So Fran, when we talk about inheritance, most people think that means property in Spain, but it's not just that, is it? What other types of assets are involved?
Yes, because the thing is, for the inheritance, what we have to bear in mind is assets, and this is not just properties. For example, we have a lot of clients. They are, for example, people living here through the non-lucrative visa, and sometimes they only have a bank account, for example, and they have money in the bank account. This is also included in the inheritance tax, because when something happens, the bank is going to block the money in the bank account. That means that having a will and organize all your inheritance legal documents will be needed to do this and to unblock the money. Or imagine you have a car, okay? That means that we have to include the car in the inheritance. No, is when we draft the wills, we explain that is for all your assets in Spain. Okay, and that includes not only properties. Okay.
Okay, so that's everything, all of the kind of house contents and everything. Yeah,
Everything. Yeah.
In my case, guitars.
I can tell you, okay, we have a client with, I don't remember, something like 20 pictures, things like that. And he sent to us a long list of little things. And okay, this is probably not the most important unless you have a Picasso, no? But you know, you can include it, okay? You can include it.
Yeah, absolutely. My guitar's definitely worth including. All three of them there. Two of them are worth more than a car on their own, I think. There you go. So, how important is it to have a Spanish will?
Yes, the reason we strongly advise for having a Spanish will is because when something happens, all has to be done in front of a notary in Spain. And the notary will require a document to know who are the inheritors of the person, okay? That means that if we don't have a Spanish will, we will have to use a document from your country. And that means translations, apostille. It will take a long time. For example, if you have to get the probate in the UK, or if you are in the US, it's different depending on the states. This is a terrible headache. However, just having a Spanish will, the notary will be comfortable that this is your last will, okay? And the notary will not apply for any other extra document from your country, okay? We are going to save money in translations and any other kind of documents, and also time, okay? And this is the reason, because it's very, very important, and it's very worth it, because a will, to make a Spanish will, it costs something like 200, 250 euros per person. Okay? Imagine if you have to get documents from the UK or any other country, translations, apostille, and things like that. Okay? It's totally worth it. Okay?
Brilliant. So what happens to the will once it's made, and how is it found when you die?
Okay, the thing is, in the Spanish system, we have something very, very good, okay? In the Spanish system, we have what we call the will bank, okay? This is a department from the Spanish government where the last will you sign in front of the notary in Spain will be registered in this will bank. That means that the first thing when something happens is we have to apply for a certificate to know where the last will was made, in which notary you sign your last will. Okay, and with this document you can go to the notary and say, hello, I am an inheritor and I need a legal copy of the will according to this document. No, in the Spanish system, if you want to change something in your will, you have to make a new one. Okay, we are not, we cannot do a amendment or annexes to your will. Every time you change your mind, you have to make a new will. Okay, I would like to explain here that, and this is something we are doing a long time ago. We also have the possibility to register a will signed in front of a notary in any other country. We can register this will in this will bank. That's crazy, and that's a very good news, because sometimes we have clients and they are not able to come to Spain to sign in front of a notary. Okay, now years ago we have the possibility to draft the power of attorney, send to the notary there, sign this in front of the notary, and once we have the original one here with us, we can register in the will bank. And when something happens, we will get the certificate to see what was the last will, and this will be there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. That sounds like a really good system. I like that. Let's just check on the live chat because there's a few more people joining us. Peter says he's in Casares. Love it here. Yeah, that's not all that far from us. As the crow flies across the mountains. Jason says -7 predicted for UK, supposedly next few days. I actually misread your previous question, and you said in the UK I can prepay funeral plans. Are there similar options in Spain? Yes, that's what Compare Funerals plans are all about. You can prepay, and yes, so we'll ask Ruth about those in the second half, hopefully. Paul Cook says good morning, 7 minutes late. Don't worry, Paul, you're with us now. Alicante Explorers this morning, everyone. And Barry's dropped in a little donation there. Good morning to you, Barry from Unitech. Okay, so we will be looking at your website in a bit, actually, which covers absolutely all of the parts of the law that you do. But you were telling me you were going to start up a new website, which is all focusing on the inheritance, which I think is a good idea. It's very much a niche market, and nobody else is really focusing on that. So it's good to see that you are. So let's look at some of the details of inheriting with a Spanish will, like what happens, who gets what, and who pays the tax.
Okay. The first thing we need to know, it is in the Spanish system, we have just 6 months to set up, especially the payment of the taxes, okay? And then I will explain about if you have to pay taxes or not, okay? But the thing is, we have just 6 months, okay? This is something, we have time enough with 6 months when we don't have to get documents from out of Spain. This is what I explained before, because if you have your Spanish will with all the legal paperwork from your properties here, car, bank account, and things like that, okay? We have time enough to set up this in 6 months. If we are not able to submit the inheritance tax declaration within 6 months, we are able to apply another 6 months. Okay, and this is something we have to apply in within the first five months. Okay, that means that we will have another 6 months to set up all the things. We have to bear in mind that usually the inheritors are not resident here, or they didn't have the NIE, for example. Okay, that means that we have to set a power of attorney. We have to get NIEs, and it's not very easy. NIE is not something you get like this. Okay, and we have to work, especially in collecting all the documents from the property, from the bank, insurance in case the person has an insurance. This is more or less the thing we have to do. Another important thing is, if the person passes away here, we will get the death certificate directly from the Spanish authorities. But if not, we need the death certificate from your country and has to be translated in Spanish with a strong translator, okay? Taxes, and probably this is, always taxes are the most important thing here, okay? We have to explain that in the Spanish system, so far we have 17 communities, okay? And each community is different, okay? And the reason is because it's not the same communities where the PP party, okay, are, or if it's another party. Now, for example, just to give an example, in Andalusia, the inheritance tax from parents to children to parents, or among spouses is free, okay? This is the inheritance tax, However, when we have properties, we have another tax, and it is a local tax. It is called plusvalía, okay? And this is also another tax we have to pay to the town hall, okay? It's not a lot. This tax depends on the value of the property in catastro, different kind of things, or how many years you own the property. Okay, but just to have this very clear, we have two taxes: the inheritance taxes and then the local tax or plusvalía. But depending on the community, the inheritance taxes probably will be zero. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Great. Lisa's got a question. She says, I'm not sure I understand the question. I think you've misheard one of the words. Am I hearing right? Will pass? How do you get one? Is that how do you get a will? You might have to explain the context of the question, because it was 5 minutes ago when that came up. So I can understand the difficulty. Fran has an Andalusian accent, so some parts of the words can be missing.
Yeah,
so, fortunately, I've spoken to him a lot before, so I can understand absolutely everything you say. But I don't remember you saying something that was anything like "will pass." So, yeah, try again, Lisa. See if you can give us some context. But how do you get a will is all about. Oh, well, Fran's mentioned that. You've got to go to a notary. Let's see. Jason has a question about, are there state-funded old people homes that my UK pension would cover? Would my Spanish property have to be sold to cover the costs of care? That's a question that I'm not sure you can answer, or even Ruth, maybe. She might know the answer to that one. That is about care homes. I was going to have somebody from a care home on the show, but I found it very difficult to get them at the same time and be part of it. So I don't know if you know anything about that, Fran.
Sorry, Andrew, but I can tell you that we have sometimes clients or family, especially the families. Okay, Fran, we have a property in Spain. We have to sell the property or to do something with the property to cover the fees of the residency there. Okay. What's happening is sometimes they even the step before to go there, they sold the property or they donated the property to the children. Okay. Because it is true that they have the right to get the money from the sale if the person is in the residency. But I don't have all the information about this. It's just something I happened to us with a client. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good news. I can see Ruth in the background over there. I'll just give her a wave. So we'll bring her in a bit. So that is good. Lisa was talking about the document that shows where your final will is, and how do you get one of those?
Yes, the document where the final will is. Okay. Is the I can tell the name in Spanish is certificado, certificate de últimas voluntades. Okay. Is the last will certificate, okay? And this certificate, it is, or you will find in the registry of last will in Madrid, the will bank, okay?
The will bank. That's. I think it was. Pass and bank. They were mixed up. So. And are they easy to get in touch with? Can you send them an email, or is it a phone call?
Okay, my advice is to use a lawyer to get this document, because at the moment for the Spanish people, because they are updating all the information at the civil registries, you can get it online, okay, with the digital signature, okay? But if not, you have to get it in person in the different offices of the Justice Ministry, okay? And this is something you only can get in the capitals in Spain, okay? My advice is even the notaries can help you to get this, okay? Sometimes you can go directly to a notary and they can also help you with this, okay? If not, hire a lawyer to get this document.
Excellent. And Jason says, what is the estimated cost of a Spanish will, please? So that'll be your fee and the notary fee.
You can find different prices, but I think you can find between 200 or 300 euros per person. And that includes the notary fees, okay? Because the notary will charge for making the Spanish will.
Mm-hmm. Jed's asking, this is an interesting question. Can you sort out your will and inheritance requirements before moving to Spain, just in case the worst could happen on the day you arrive?
Well, the thing is, what we usually do is we use the power of attorney to avoid any stress to the family. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because to be honest, we have to get a lot of documents, we have to do a lot of things, and what we don't want is, to in this bad moment stress the family. My advice is to make a power of attorney to the lawyer, and the lawyer will take any document, and this can be done without the people here. Okay, this is a very important thing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So, what happens if you are an unmarried partner and you're not officially registered? Wow. Is there more inheritance tax?
It's terrible, Andrew. It is absolutely terrible, because it is true the inheritance tax is almost nothing in the majority of the communities in Spain, depending on the value. But this is when the inheritors are children's parents or spouses. Okay, but when is, for example, your partner and you are not officially registered, is like a stranger for the system. Okay, and the tax will be the double of the calculations. I strongly advise, because this happens to some of our clients in the past, and when we make the calculation for them, it was terrible. Okay, I strongly advise or get married, or at least to be registered as a civil partnership. Okay, because just this is like spouses. Okay, and that means that you will be treated with these allowances. Okay, I strongly advise to be registered or married.
Mm-hmm. What about if you inherit without a Spanish will? What happens? Who gets what? Who pays the tax then?
Okay, the thing is, first thing we need to know is, if you don't have a Spanish will, where is your main residence? This is the first important question. If you are residing here in Spain, permanent resident here we have to initiate a legal procedure to declare who are the inheritors. Okay, this is called Declaración de Herederos. Okay, inheritors declaration, and it's something like the probate or things like that. Okay. Once this is finished, and this is something we have to make in front of the notary here, this is like the will. Okay, this is the document we will need to execute the inheritance. Okay, if the person is not residing here in Spain, the family members have to get this document from their country. We will need at least one document from there stating who are the inheritors, or if they have an executor or things like that. Okay, and we will use this document to finalize here the inheritance. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So I still have loads and loads of questions that I wrote down for you. And I don't think we're going to get through all of them in this half an hour. We may have to just keep on going for a little bit longer. Let's try and find the most important things. I mean, there are questions. I'm just going to list my questions and see if you can pick out the most important things. Are there any regional differences in inheritance laws, tax exemptions and tax reliefs? And are there any other types of tax apart from inheritance? And what about if the property owner is non-resident? Where is the tax paid? And what is international succession? These are all really important questions, aren't they?
Yeah.
And can you specify in your will that you want to have the estate administered under UK law, for example, who inherits the assets? So choose one of those for a start.
That is a very important. Is a very important question, Andrew, because from 2012 we have in Europe a law, and this law is applicable to the people from any other country. In that case, the UK, for example. These new European regulations allow you to decide what is the law you want to apply in your inheritance. Okay. And this is very important because according to the British law, for example, you are free to decide, okay? But however, in the Spanish law, we have a lot of limitations, especially if you have children. You have the obligation to leave a minimum to your children. Even you cannot leave all to your wife or your husband. You have to respect this minimal limitation. However, if you decide to apply the law of your country, we will apply here your law. That means that even if you make a Spanish will here in front of the notary here, you have to state in your will, I want to apply my national law. Okay? And we will respect your will, okay, your wish.
Mm-hmm. So that actually answers Jed Tierney's question, which is there a sequence of priorities of beneficiaries in the will? Normally everything goes to the spouse. In the UK, it's more normal for everything to go to the children in Spain. So yes, young children are considered. But if you can apply the laws from the UK, then
you don't have
means yes.
Yeah. This is I like to clarify that, and this is something I found some years ago. I found some wills signed in front of the Spanish notaries, and for any reason, somebody advised you have to apply the Spanish law because you are resident here. Okay. My advice is double check the wills. Okay, especially if you signed the will a long time ago, because sometimes for any reason I can't understand now, the notaries say, okay, you have to apply the Spanish law because you are living here. However, this is not clear now. Okay, now you can decide and say, no, I want to apply my British, okay, my national law. Okay, and it is very important to double check your will to check if this clause is inside the will. Okay, I want to apply my national law.
Excellent. Barry from Unitech has got an interesting question. As nobody wants to pay more tax than they're legally obliged to, of course, what's the best way to legally keep any inheritance tax to the absolute minimum?
Okay. The answer to this question is depending on the community. The community, what I explained before, because we have 17 communities, we will apply the regulations of the community where you have more assets. Okay, that means if you have more assets in Andalusia, we will apply the regulations from Andalusia. At the moment, from parents to children, children to parents, or spouses, is almost free. And sometimes it's free. That means that depending on the community, you have to do something. For example, if you have a community where you have to pay some taxes, probably it is advisable to make a donation to your children, depending of the taxes involved. Okay, but the majority of the communities, when you inherit from your parents, is almost free. Okay, in my advice is don't do anything because the inheritance tax is almost free. Okay, but this is something you have to double check every year because laws are changing. The politicians are very anxious to get money from everywhere, and this is something we have to double check every year, okay? And especially every community is different, and we have to double check every community.
Yes, it's true. Of course, it's a tiny bit like the American system in Spain, where each of the communities is almost like a state. It has their own laws, and then there's that at the federal level. That's the central government, and that's and of course we've got a more, as you said, we have the PP party, which is more sort of centre right politically, whereas the central government is a collection of parties, but over to the left mostly, although there's a kind of a Catalan party who's over to the right at the same time, all mixed up. And it's a minority government as well, isn't it?
You know, Spain is very nice to live, but now we have a mix of parties. They are fighting against them. And the thing is, when you go to the PP communities, and now it's the majority of the communities are governed by PP, they try to the tax-free for the inheritance, okay? And for this reason, the other communities are fighting against things. And now, for example, the government we have from the PSOE, no? PSOE, okay? They are even projecting to have a national law for all the communities, and saying, okay, it doesn't matter the community, you have to pay taxes, no? But this is something you know. Now the government is not very solid. They are all the time negotiating things with Catalonian parties, the Basque Country, but we have to speak about what we have now, right now on the table, no?
Absolutely, yes. Something to keep your attention. I'm starting to understand the politics a bit more. I get the newspapers. So Lisa says she had to state on her Spanish will, presumably, that she wanted to go with the laws of Wales and England, because you have to make sure you don't say UK, because others from Scotland or Northern Ireland will have to state their will to apply to Scotland's or Ireland's, and the Republic of Ireland, which is completely different and not part of the UK at all. Yes, they're all slightly different. I'm not sure which. I think mine is under UK law, even though I moved from Ireland, because that's where all my inheritors will be. So I think that made more sense for me to do that. But yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for that, Lisa. Let's just ask one more question, and it's quite an important one. As I said before, if you want more detailed answers, and I'm sure you've got loads more questions for Fran, we'll have a look at his website in a moment, which has got contact details and everything for AF Consulting, which you can also find underneath this video in the video description. So what documents do you need? This is an important one, to administer an estate in Spain.
Yes, usually, as I mentioned before, the first document we will need is the death certificate, okay? Having this, we will get the last will certificate, which explained before. We will also need one certificate from the bank stating what was the amount at the moment the person passed away, okay? And if the bank account is a joint account, the bank will state that half of the money of this person when this person passed away, okay? It is important to clarify this, okay? We will also need, if you have a car, the legal documents from the car, if we have to change over the name of the car to the inheritors, property documents, okay? If you have the will, we will also need the will. If not, don't worry, because we can get a new one with the last will certificate. We have to remind that all the inheritors, we have to have the NIP, okay? Because if not, it is not possible to submit the tax documents, okay?
Excellent. And the NIE is something that it's best for you to get as the lawyer, because it's not easy to apply for through the consulate. Yeah. Right, I tell you what, I'm very happy to say actually that Fran's company is also supporting YouTooSpain on this end of life special, which is absolutely marvelous. So let's have a look at your website, and just to show everybody absolutely everything that you do, all of the different services. Let's get that up on screen. That's better. Let's get us both up on screen as well. Let's see. Are we there? No, we're not. There, perhaps? No, you can't see the whole website. That's better. You can see it now. And this is your home page there. So it says at the top, all the different services that you do. Property and conveyancing. We've had you on the show before talking all about that. If I can make this picture any bigger for everyone. That's better. Make it a bit wider. So yeah, there's a property and conveyancing sub-page. Rental and registration. I think you actually did my rental contract for me as well. And here's the wills and inheritance page. And as I said before, you're planning to do a separate inheritance, an actual website just for that, because nobody else seems to be doing that. And then there's taxes and company law, and then mortgages and finance. You've got this lovely scrolling screen here, which has the booking your appointments here, and it's a very well put together website, by the way, Fran. I like it. I found the only spelling mistake on the whole website, and I always spot these kind of things. Just the physically on this book your appointments, it should be PHY.
Okay.
So, something for you to adjust. I don't like to be critical, but I'm a when it comes to language, I spot these things. Anyway, and so there's all these different screens here that you can access, and then showing what you're specialists in, which is brilliant. Also getting residency and TIE cards, tourism licenses, paying taxes, properties, conveyancing, rentals and evictions, and successions. So there you go. And there's Fran. FCO, that's short for Francisco. There we go. And it tells you all about what you have 2 master degrees, one in taxation law and the other in urban planning law. Speaks English fluently, 20 years experience. It's probably more than 20 years now.
25.
25, yes. And there you go. There's testimonials flashing past there, and your mission statement, and then some news items underneath that, which is brilliant. And these are all your business connections, I think, at the bottom of the page there. And of course, there's the lower menu where you can see all of the different social media pages where you can get in touch. And there you go. So excellent website. As you can see at the top, it's available in Spanish, British and French. I had to check that one because I always get confused with there's loads of flags which have got blue, white and red on there. So yes, and contact us, and there's the blog page as well. You can also be an ambassador. What's that one all about? Yes,
we are very happy to pay commission to people who send us clients. Okay. We have some collaborators everywhere, and they send us clients, and we make an agreement with them to pay them some commission in case they send to us clients.
Brilliant. It's a very good idea. Okay then. So I tell you what we'll do now is I'll bring Ruth in so you can actually be introduced to her. I was going to do that before the show, or right at the beginning of the show, but you've still not met her. But here we go. Let's try this. Let's see if your microphone and everything is working. Good morning, Ruth.
Hey, good morning.
Hi. Hooray! Excellent. So you managed to sign up on your phone instead of the computer by the look of it.
I did it on the phone. All the settings were correct on the computer, but still not working. So who knows what's going on there? There's some little gremlins going on. But hi, Fran. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ruth. We are very excited you are here with us.
Excellent. You could actually try turning your phone the other way around, and you might be full screen then. Hopefully that'll work without. There you go. We can see you full screen then. I'm glad that worked without completely closing you down.
Oh wow, yeah, well, that's another problem.
I tell you what, Fran, let's just finish off with you by give us a couple of tips, important tips about everything to do with wills and inheritance.
Okay, one of the most important tips I usually give to my client is sometimes we found that the inheritors don't know what bank account the family have. Okay, and sometimes they have to go to the house and find letters. Okay, I think we have this bank from Santander or CaixaBank, but now even the banks are not sending any paper to your house. Okay, and sometimes it's not easy for us to know where the client had the bank account. My advice is try to keep a record with the bank accounts you have. Okay, send to your family members, hello, at the moment I have these bank accounts in this bank, different banks, because this will help a lot to us to find the document from the bank. We don't have in the Spanish system the way to ask to any place what bank account you have. Okay, sometimes probably you have a bank account, and if the family they don't know, it's gone. Okay, you're not able to get this for the inheritance. No. The tip number 2 is you have the possibility to mention in your will an executor. Okay, we strongly advise to name an executor in the will, because your lawyer, the executor, will facilitate a lot all these legal things that in precisely in that moment. It's very helpful to have another person to do all these kind of things. No? Finally, the third is once the will is signed in front of the notary, send a copy of the will to your inheritors, okay, with the contact of the lawyer or the executor to explain them, okay, in case something happened, you only have to contact this law firm, okay?
Brilliant. Okay, then. Matt David says, good morning. Late again. You missed the first half, but never mind. You can always scroll back at some point and watch the video, which will be available forever on the YouTooSpain channel. And so, thank you so much, Fran, for being with us. We can let you go now.
Okay.
And, we'll see you, I'm sure, on another show soon, and maybe covering wills and inheritance, or let us know when you've got the new website up. Yes. That will be a good time, and then we can just talk about inheritance. That would be great.
That's
or you can do a mortgages program or another property one, something like that. Okay, then. So thank you very much for now. And if anyone does have any questions, contact Fran either through his website or through the link that's underneath the video, which is exactly the same link as on the website, I think. But yes, do tell Fran that you saw him on this show. And goodbye for now.
Bye.
There we go. So, Ruth, it's just me and you now. So that's good. I'm so glad you managed to get through all of the.
So am I.
There's usually everybody. Usually people who do the sign-on thing usually just get through straight away, but then there's the occasional one where a different screen comes up, and I don't know.
I always like to be different, so there we go.
You're unique, that's it.
Unique.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get straight on to talking about funeral plans. And as I said before to Fran, what we'd like to do is give the watchers some excellent summaries today, because we've got 2 guests, and so we can't do a whole hour and a half on each one. So we'll try and fit everything in. Then if anybody wants any more details, they can get directly in touch with you, which I advise everyone to do. So first of all, what happens if you die in Spain without a funeral plan in place?
Well, it can be rather tricky, because if it's a home death, you have to phone the police, a bit like you would do in the UK. So you would phone a doctor in which to certify the death. And then your next step is to phone the Guardia. So the Guardia would then come, and then they would phone their friend, cousin, whoever it might be, contact, let's say, who is the funeral director. And then the funeral director of the police's choice will then come to the property. Obviously, when somebody passes away, we're very emotional. And even though the police are actually choosing for us, quite often we can't stand up in which to say, no, actually, we want so-and-so or whoever it might be. So this is really why a funeral plan is important to have, because if you have a plan, then you can just tell the police and say, right, this is my plan. This is the number that you need to phone for me. That's if the police have to come to the home, if they've already got a funeral plan. Now, if somebody passes away in hospital, that's a different matter altogether. Obviously, the police aren't involved. But if there is no plan in place, the doctor or the nurse will get the funeral directors from the mortuary. For instance, in the Costa del Sol, where I am, I think there's 2 different funeral directors. So there's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So they get their fair share. Mm-hmm. And the body isn't even cold and you're expected to sign the contract. So it's, you've got to get your head around an awful lot, and you've only just lost your loved one. So mm-hmm. it makes it a very, what is an emotional time, even more emotional and even more difficult. Mm-hmm. So it's not nice to be without something. Now, obviously, there's funeral plans, there's funeral insurance, there's all types of things on the market. And I do suggest that people do go and get something, whatever suits them best. It's just so important, because the amount of phone calls I've had from people that have been in this situation, and then unfortunately with past companies that I've been with, we haven't been able to help them out. And it's distressful, not only for them, but obviously for me on the other end of the phone as well.
Mm-hmm. How do they find out? We were talking to Fran earlier about wills. With wills, there's a central sort of directory in Madrid that kind of activates automatically when you die. What happens if you're the second one of a couple to die? You have a funeral plan in place. How do people know? How do people know
that they've got it? Okay. Well, they have to carry a card on them which has the number on it. And I always say to people that are on their own, who has a door key? So if he was to die in bed, as it were, or in the home, which there are a lot of home deaths, who has access? And who are you in contact with regularly, in which to know that that person can be alerted that there's a problem? Because if they can't get hold of that person, obviously there's an issue. So I always say, make sure that we've got this little triangle going on. Who's got the key? Who are you in regular contact with? And if they don't hear from you, then let's set a procedure in place. And then we would then get to know.
That's good. So as part of the funeral plan, you sort of cover all of the bases, don't you?
I do, because I've been through it with my mum. My dad died, and then my mum said to me, well, how do I know? She said that I'm not going to wake up dead. I said, well, Mum, actually, you're not going to wake up. So what we actually did was, she texted me every morning. And if it got to about 1 o'clock my time, because she was in the UK, I start to get a bit edgy and think, what's going on? I haven't heard from Mum. And then from there, I can then I made a couple of phone calls, and she was all right. Something had happened with the phone, So it's always good, my own personal experience. I found that it's good for people on their own to be in touch with whoever it might be, a family member, or it might be a close friend or a neighbour.
Absolutely, yes. Could people go instead just direct to the funeral directors and organise arrangements in the future for for their funerals and everything?
Well, they can do. However, it's normally a lot more money, which is if they want to pay more money, then that's then that's fine. Then that's fine too. They can do whatever they want. But it's normally more money, and it's still having to sort out something at a stressful time. Whereas if they've put a plan in place, all that sorting out is already done, which I think is really important. Both my parents had funeral plans, and even though they're in the UK and I understood everything that was going on, just to have somebody come to me about the service, and my mum had actually left a folder of all various different hymns that she liked. So I went through the folder, and we then pieced it all together. But without having a plan, it just made life a lot simpler by doing that, because it's a stressful situation when somebody passes. You know, a lot of my clients, they've been together 30, 40, 50 plus years. You know, and when you've lost your partner and your husband and wife after all that time, the last thing you actually want to think about is phoning up another company that you haven't dealt with and then starting the process right from scratch, because that's what would happen with just phoning a funeral director.
Yeah. There you go. So we'll be having a look at your website a little bit later on, but just tell us briefly what different plans or packages are available, and can you customize it completely?
Okay, well, we have 4 different packages. One, we actually, the first one, called the direct cremation plan, which seems to be the most popular at the moment. Compare Funeral actually bought to Spain. So we drove down the market price for a normal funeral by about 1,400 euros, which is a lot of living money, as I would say. So we have the direct cremation plan. That is an unattended cremation. It's done within 24 hours. But more importantly, all the paperwork is done and is delivered back to the family. So you have the urn, if the family want the ashes, and the paperwork. So the paperwork is 3 Spanish death certificates and 3 international death certificates. So anything outside Spain, which is what Fran was talking about, that was what you would need for the international death certificate, is what you need for closing down pensions and banks in the board and so on and so forth. So that's the first plan. The second plan allows 3 days in the mortuary, and people can view the body if they so wish, and still does all the paperwork. And then the third plan, we can add a service in on that as well. So that's rather nice, because a lot of families want to say goodbye to their loved ones, and it does bring some closure, which is very important. So with that plan, you can have a service, and that can be either a humanist with a celebrant or a religious service with a minister. So whatever suits whatever anybody wants. And then the last plan, which is the plan that I've sold least of, or explained least of, in the 13 years that I've been explaining about funeral plans. It's a repatriation of the body. I think in all my years I've done 5 or 6 of those plans. They're very expensive, but some people do want the body back to a particular grave. There was a gentleman I met, his wife had died of cancer, and even though he'd moved on with his life, that was where he wants his resting place. So we've organised that for him. So when he passes, his whole body will go back to the UK. So those are the 4 different plans. Can they be customised? Yes, if there's something in particular that somebody wants, then we can look at doing that. It would be an extra cost, but we can fix that cost. We can do that.
Excellent. So there's a choice of cremation, burial.
Cremation or burial, yes. So cremation is obviously when you're cremated and then you're turned into ashes. And with a burial, you would go into a niche, which the niches here are really, really really, really pretty, I think. You're in a wall, you're not underground. And on the All Saints' Day, which is the 1st of November, all the, dare I say, more widows than more widowers than widows, they go and visit their husbands in the niches, and go and have a word with them or two, I guess. Tell them what they've been up to.
Oh,
But that's nice on All Saints' Day. It's really, they take a picnic and flowers, and that's when the Spanish remember their dead. Whereas we being from the UK tend to remember the day that person passed. That's when we would really think of them. So it's a slightly different culture, which is fine. We can all live with cultures, different cultures.
What about an eco burial in the roots of a tree or something like that?
Yeah, we haven't got that far yet, I don't think, here. But what I would, I know that's very much you, isn't it, Andrew?
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would do ashes. I would put the ashes there and then put a tree on top. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And are you allowed to sprinkle the ashes anywhere, or are there laws about that?
Well, you're not supposed to. I know people do, but you're not supposed to. You can do a burial at sea. That's the price of the funeral plan plus another €2,000 on top. So it's quite expensive. But if people want to scatter ashes elsewhere, then maybe that's really important to them, and cost isn't an issue. I meet people from all types doing my work. People that are really struggling here because they're on a pension, and this is the only money that they've got coming in, through to multimillionaires that have done the funeral plans because they don't want to be caught in the Spanish process and have a funeral director tell them how much they think they're worth, which would be obviously a lot of money in their pay. One guy had to pay €10,000 for his plan. Another gentleman 15,000. It's a lot of money if you don't have things in place. Because there are no set prices with the funeral companies once they go into the home, and that's part of the problem.
But your price range, you've got a kind of a fixed price range.
Oh, we're a fixed price. So whether somebody's whatever standard, wherever they are, the price is the price. That it doesn't change for anybody. So we can start off at 2,250, which is the lowest price on the market here for a direct cremation plan. And then the granite plan, which is the one with the service, which is also popular, that's at €3,550. There are other providers that do exactly the same, but they are about €900 more. So I would say that if you're looking at funeral plans, then shop around, because you can get the same but for less, which is good, because money is for living and not doing what I do.
Yeah,
money
absolutely.
is for enjoying.
Yeah. I was going to ask, are there any options to not have a funeral, or is that what the direct plan really is, because you don't have a service?
Correct. That's the direct cremation plan. Is there's no service. It's an unattended cremation. And a lot of people are liking that because there's no stress on the family. So so the body's collected, unattended cremation, all done within 24 hours. Then the ashes and the paperwork are delivered back to the family. Again, we're the only funeral planning provider that offers that service. But then the family then can arrange what they want to do. Maybe they want to take the ashes over to where most of the family are, which we provide a certificate for the ashes to go on board an aircraft. So maybe that's an easier option for families, because not everybody can afford to come over or can get time off of work, but still wants to commemorate the death of a loved one. So that's quite a nice option when you can do that.
Yeah, I'd like on the old mates to do a concert.
Yay!
That'll be brilliant. Everybody getting up on stage and singing. That'd be perfect.
Singing. That sounds Sounds perfect.
Yeah. So, can you pay by instalments? And if so, what happens if you die before the instalments are completed?
Okay. Yes. We ask for a deposit, and then the balance can be taken over 60 months maximum, and that is completely interest free. Okay. Again, we're the only funeral planning company that offers that. There are some that offer for less time, like 18 months or something like that. But we offer 5 years completely interest free. So if that person was to pass away within the 5 years, we ask, we do need the balance being made up, and we ask the relative or the next of kin that we have on the form just to pay that little bit of a balance. To be really honest with you, we come across very, very few of those. Normally, if people are think that they're dying before the 5 years, they normally settle it up with us. It's just something that they would do.
Yeah.
But if not, then yeah, we just ask the family for the balance. And then, you know, if it's a little bit, quite a bit of money, that could come from 3 or 4 different family members. You know, it doesn't need to come from one person.
Now, I'm just looking for a question that came up earlier, which I was wondering whether you could answer. Are there state-funded old people homes that my UK pension would cover? Would my Spanish property have to be sold to cover the cost of care?
Oh, well, that's a very different subject to what I know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I know that the nursing homes here are a lot less expensive than the UK, which is good. But I don't know how that would be funded, how that would work. So
I think
sorry,
there are a
I
lot
can't
of.
help you there.
That's okay. I think there are a lot of private homes, right? But I don't know about state-funded.
No, I don't know about state. I know there are a lot of private ones here too, but I don't know about state-funded. And would they maybe all being, if they were state-funded, would they all maybe be Spanish-speaking in there? And then if you didn't speak Spanish, that might be a bit tricky.
I have a feeling that that's one of the first things to go if I was going, you know, if I had dementia or Alzheimer's, then you lose your most recent things, don't you? So you go back to childhood when I couldn't speak Spanish.
Yes, all your childhood memories. How lovely.
Yeah, I'd be able to speak French probably because I was learning that at school, you know, from a very early age. Yeah, but I can't remember any of it now.
Not that I remember it now, but yeah.
That would be very odd. I noticed when I was singing for old people in the homes, in the state hospitals in Ireland, a lot of them went back. The very old ones went back to speaking Irish, and forgot the English that they'd been forced to learn. You know, at later on in schools, because there was particular years when that was sort of forced on them. So. Yeah, and they couldn't understand a thing I said, so I tried to learn some songs in Irish just for them. So.
That's nice.
Yeah. So, is another good question. Once you've paid for your plan, what happens if if you die 20 years down the line, the price of funerals has gone up by then? Do you have to pay the excess?
Well. If you've survived 20 years after paying your plan, you've actually done a good job in living, which I like that. But no, the price is the same. So the money that people pay us doesn't come into Compare Funeral bank account. After 14 days, it goes into a trust fund, and that's where it stays until the money is needed. The money can only come out of the trust fund if we have an invoice from the funeral director, or if somebody wants to cancel the plan. So by cancelling the plan, the only real reason why somebody would do that is for example, they've moved to Spain and then they're moving to Australia, for example. So our plans wouldn't work down there. You would cancel the plan, which is €500. and then the balance of the whatever they've paid in would go back to them. But once that price is locked in, for example, for the direct cremation plan, the 2250, that's it. There's no more for them to pay for however many years that they live in the future.
Yeah. Just think.
Because it beats the funeral inflation. Because if you look at a funeral plan in the UK, for example, you're not getting a lot of change out of maybe 5,000 sterling, which is a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. That feels a safe way of doing it.
Yes, yeah, and because the money's in the trust, our directors can't get their little hands on it. So because it's all bounded by trust laws and stuff, so it's good. We like that. Nice and secure. That's really important.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I should point out, actually, last time you were on, somebody said in the questions way down that are you, because it's called compare funerals, are you like compare flights or compare where you compare different funerals? But you're not, are you? It's just
no, we're not.
That was a confusing something.
Yeah, well, I've had a word with the director about that, but it isn't changing. It's staying, is it? It's
too late,
isn't it?
Too late.
Yeah.
I was going to change YouTooSpain to something else, but by the time I thought of it, because it's the U2 movement.
Yes.
Although I agree with what they do, it wouldn't be right for me to be connected because people would be looking at my site when they want something else, really, and that might be confusing for them. So, but no, I'm stuck with it now. There you go. I quite like it.
There we go. Yeah.
So I'm very happy to say that Compare Funerals and Ruth are supporting this end of life special too. So thank you so much for that. And before you disappear and we round the show off, let's have a look at your webpage as well, because I think you've got an excellent one here. Let's just bring it up on screen. And there we are at the side. Good, that's almost covering the full screen. Let's just see if I can expand it so everybody can see it even better. There you go. So you got your lovely logo at the top there and all the contact details. There's also a map reference up the top here, which you can see that tells you. So you're in Marbella?
Mijas is where I live.
Oh, Mijas.
I live in Mijas, but I mean I cover all of Andalusia, and if I can't actually physically get to see you, then we can always do a video call, which a lot of people like.
Great. And there's your phone number and email address up there. There's also on the top menu bar, you've got everything that you need to know. You're on the home page at the moment. Then there's an About Ruth page, which you can also access further down here if I wave my cursor over that. And then there's a list of the plans. There's only 3 of them on there. So the direct cremation, the terracotta, and the granite plan. The granite,
the marble plan for the repatriation. We hardly do any of those. So
frequently asked questions there as well, and of course the contact details. And there's also this very handy bar here. There's a Meet Ruth. There's a little video introduction from you on YouTube there, which is lovely, and as well as the About Ruth frequently asked questions and the contact us. And then there's a What We Offer section, and proud to be a member of British Chamber of Commerce in Spain, and asking all about what funeral plans are. So that's a nice little explanation, and why choose Ruth and Compare Funerals. It tells you the mission, and there's a 0% interest policy, which is great if you're paying monthly. I was reading, somebody asked the question, I think, and what's the sort of monthly payment if you're paying over the 5 years, the 60 months for the direct plan?
Oh, it's €29.16 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
so
affordable.
Most people can afford that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there you go. There's the home visits, which you've talked about, or you can do a video chat. And there's cover throughout Spain. So you've got a team of English speaking.
So we cover, with the plans, we cover Spain, UK, Portugal and Ireland.
Yeah. That's handy.
Yeah,
that's
well, some providers, some funeral plan providers can't provide Ireland anymore. So, but we can still do that.
Oh, okay. That's since Brexit.
Yeah.
Different rules. Yeah.
Yeah, different rules, different regulations. Yeah.
Fair enough. And there's another way to access the full details of those 3 plans. And once again, the contact page. And then there's some excellent testimonials down here. Yes, so have a read of those yourself. And
well,
again,
being in the business for so many years, I mean, there's so many stories that I could tell you, but I really do enjoy what I do, because I know that when the time comes, it's just a godsend. I call it the get out of jail free card, because that has the helpline number on it, which people can phone in English or in Spanish. And at that point in time, when our loved ones pass away, you know, we feel horrendous. And just by one call, it's all sorted out. We have some lovely, lovely funeral directors on board. And it just makes life a tiny bit easier, which is what this is all about. But not only that, you fix your price and you're not going to be ripped off, which to me is really important, because nobody wants to pay more for what they have to pay anyway. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Jed Tierney says, get a plan. Nobody likes talking money with a funeral director after someone dies. Yes, you made that point before. Quite true. Yeah. I'd be in a panic. I think my wife Liz would be better at it, although yes, she'd be nervous about having to speak Spanish and you know, having to negotiate fees and everything as well.
Yeah, it's the last thing you want to do when you've just lost a loved one. I had a phone call from a friend of mine. His father-in-law had died in hospital, and he said, "Oh, I spoke to one funeral director, and he said, well, if I do it in euros, it's this amount. And oh, by the way, if you pay me in sterling, I can do a discount, and it can be this amount." And he came off the phone, and he phoned me, and he said, "Well, what should I do?" I said, "Well." At the end of it, really, really and truthfully, the guy shouldn't be bartering with you. He should just be giving you the price, and that's it. You're not in any state of mind to be working out between euros and sterling at that point in time. You know, no. You need some compassion. And
absolutely true. Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually probably one of the things I would be able to do, because I've got that kind of mathematical mind. Working out, because I'm so used to working them out anyway. But anyway. I could appreciate that it's not the sort of thing you want to be talking about. So Jason says, is there a link to compare funerals in the video description? There is, yes, and it's almost right at the top underneath the description. And yes, or you can, there's a link to the website, and you can access it that way. Jason says, this is great, as I plan to set this up once I move to Spain. I don't have one in the UK, as I plan to end my days in Spain.
Yeah, well, that's actually really important, because people do set up a funeral plan in the UK and they think it can work in Spain, but it doesn't, because they haven't got any links to the Spanish funeral directors. But we can do it the other way around. So we can set up in Spain, but we can flip it over to the UK if somebody moves back there or they're on holiday there.
That's very handy.
Yeah.
So I'll just say hello to Chris from Upsticks. He was that. I think he popped in, and he's probably popped back out again. He's going to check up on catch up. He'll watch the video afterwards. There we go. And let's see. Jed Tierney says, mention the 16th of February, Ruth. What's that? Was that All Saints Day?
16th of February. What's going on?
What's that about?
What is going on the 16th of February?
Oh, it's not All Saints Day, no.
No, it's no. All Saints Day is the first of 16th.
September? No.
No, 16th of Feb. That is Monday, isn't it? Is that Monday? What day is it?
It's the 8th today, so that's another 8 days. So it would be a Sunday. Don't know what that is.
Oh, I do know. Yes. the Lions Club here in Lecala. We are having, they are doing a forget-me-not tree, which is really a lovely idea of remembering our loved ones. So there's going to be lots of Christmas trees, and we can all write a little post-it note and put it on the tree for our loved ones. I'll be there as well. So if anybody wants to pass by and come and get some information, then I'd be happy to see you. So that would be great. Yes, that's it. That's in Lecala. So look up Lecala Lions, and it's also on my Facebook too, but I'll repost it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, Mary Di says, is there a deal for 2 funeral plans? Lol, lol. It's a serious question. And there is. I think you've got a 5% discount, haven't you?
Ideally, we do need, you should have 1 plan each, but obviously not always finances dictate that. So what we can do is you can take out 1 plan and put both names on it. Okay, and then you can take out a second plan at some point in the future. And if it is 2 plans, come and see me, and I'm sure I'll be able to sort out some little wheelie-dealy thing for you.
Brilliant, of course. Lisa Hibbert says, you've learned a lot listening to Ruth, something we don't want to think about, but best we do for everyone concerned. I've actually got it noted in my, my to-do list on my computer, my reminders on all my Apple computers. It says, sort out a funeral plan.
Funeral plan.
Yeah.
Well, we can do that. Now you're in good health. I didn't want to approach it beforehand. Because,
yes. You don't want to say to somebody who's in hospital.
Now we're over the other side. I can talk to you about it now. And we'll do that off there.
We will. We'll have a good chat about that.
Yeah.
And brilliant. So, before we leave, don't forget everybody about the GoFundMe, the QR code at the top there. If you've learned something of value today from either Ruth or Fran, or even from me, if you've been entertained, then this is the way that you can show your appreciation and support. You scan that code by pointing your phone camera at it, unless you're watching on your phone, of course, in which case go to the SuperLink below, which is the very first thing underneath the video description, just above Ruth's details actually, and click on the little yellow link on the screen, and that will take you to the GoFundMe page where you can read about how to make a donation to support YouTooSpain and why it's a good idea, not just for me but for you too, because you're helping us to help you. I'll get that the right way around. So thank you in advance for doing that. Let's see if there are any more comments before we say goodbye. El Davido says, as I like it down here, do you do resurrections? That would be a great service. It'd be quite expensive.
I'd make a fortune doing that, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you would.
Love that. That's really funny.
And Jason says, I've pre-included this in my move plans with the non-lucrative visa, property in Wells. Very good idea. Yes, budget for it. And Mary Di says, thanks, this has been so helpful. And Jason says, just need to find info about care homes, which I'm struggling to find. Yes, as I said at the start of the show, I found it difficult. I was going to get somebody on this end of life special show from a home, but there are just so many kinds and different standards and rules, and it's really difficult. My last piece of advice for funeral plans is that if you're still working, get your funeral plan while you are working. I meet a lot of people that are on a pension, and obviously that's only so much per month. Mm-hmm. So therefore that money can't be replaced, whereas it can be if we're working. So if you're of a working age, I'm getting clients which are younger and younger, from about 50 upwards. Get it in place, because you can pay it off while you're working. It's interest free, and then within the 5 years it's done, and then you've still got lots of time ahead of you. And also you've done a really clever thing, because you've locked in your price, because funerals will only go up with inflation like everything else does. So that would be my
one of my little things that I'm on about at the moment to people when I see them. Yeah.
Brilliant. Top tips. Jason says I'll be in touch, Ruth, when I move to Spain. Thank you.
Yay! Good. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, that's about all we have time for this week. So click on the like button over there somewhere and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll tell you in a moment who your special guest will be next week. I think you've probably guessed already because he's on every 2 weeks. But for now, let's give Ruth a big virtual kiss and a hug and say goodbye for now. It's been an absolute pleasure, Ruth.
Thank you.
And we will speak to you soon. Bye-bye. There we go. Wasn't that wonderful and helpful? And I'm so glad we managed to get Ruth in on the show there. So hope you've all been helped an awful lot by that. So who do I have on the show next week and what subject are we going to cover? Well, of course, it's Chris from Upsticks with our regular fortnightly format where we answer all of your questions. He answers most of them and I just drop in what I know. And the main feature next week will be all about the new residency rules for people on the non-lucrative visa. As you probably know, there was a whole set of rules published in November which come into law on May 20th of this year. So that's 2025 for those of you watching back in the future. So there's a lot that you need to know, and we will cover just the residency rules for people on the non-lucrative visa next week. Now it'll be lovely. And of course, we'll be having our regular Ask Us Anything and Frequently Asked Questions segments, and also the popular argument that we have about something important or hilarious or both. And it's normally very funny. You can ask questions in advance on the Facebook page and you will be answered. So thanks for joining us and leaving comments, hitting the like button and supporting us with donations. It's all very much appreciated. I'll see you either on the midweek video, which is at 6 o'clock Spanish time on a Wednesday, that's in the evening, or on the Friday vlog on the Still Alive channel, which is also at 6 p.m. Friday, and live next Saturday morning, 10 o'clock Spanish time. So that's all for this week. Someone pass around the funeral cookies. Peace and love and peas and fluff. And here's one final message from all of the voices in my head at YouTooSpain. Here we go. Take it away, boys.
Wave goodbye, lads. Bye. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Peace and love. Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. One more cosmic dance? All right, then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver. Let's dance.